Good morning, and thank you very much for having us here. My name is Stacy Gupser, as I was introduced just a minute ago, and I'm here with Christy Andrews. And we're here to provide some information. Our presentation is a little more brief, I think, than the next presentation, so I think that's why we got to go first. We wanted to just do a quick overview about the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. At this point in time, the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community has 10,246 enrolled members. Over half of the membership is under age 21. For many of you who haven't had a chance to visit Salt River, it is in Maricopa County, and bordered by the city of Tempe, the city of Mesa, the city of Scottsdale, and the town of Fountain Hills. As we get into this presentation, we'll talk more about our land values, which is a big driver of our experience with the Cobell Land Buyback Program. Before we get started with our presentation, I just wanted to do a couple of thank yous. First of all, I wanted to thank our tribal council. This program that we were able to implement in Salt River bridged two administrations. We received the funds at the end of President Enos's term in the past council, and then we implemented the program under current President Delbert Ray. And the council didn't miss a beat and was very supportive of the whole process, and we as staff certainly appreciated that with implementing a complex program. And then on our program support side, I couldn't go too much further in this presentation without thanking a few people who are key. I'd like to thank Santee Lewis from the Land Buyback Program at the Department of the Interior. She's been a fantastic partner. I'd like to thank C. Henry and the office staff at the Office of Special Trustee at the Pima Agency. I want to make sure I thank George Patton, who's the superintendent of the Salt River Agency. And I'd also like to take a chance to thank Iris Krisman and the staff of the Office of Appraisal Services for all of their support. We couldn't be here without you, and we certainly thank you for all of your efforts. Today's presentation has just a few simple points, and Christy will be doing most of the presentation, and I'll just be here for smiling and nodding my head. We're going to talk about our land purchase history here in Salt River. We'll talk about the history of our experience with Land Buyback Program. We're going to talk about several of the waves of the program, and we'll talk about our outcomes and lessons learned, and then what's next. And we'll be happy to take any questions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Christy.
Just to give you a little more information about SRPMIC, we have over 50,000 acres. Half of that's tribal land, half of that's allotted land. Most of the allotted land in the community is in our, the general living area, the common area where there's home sites and so forth. So definitely this program, internally we've had a land buyback program. It's something we've built on over the years, definitely impacted due to the market, definitely a lot of lessons learned in this process. We've implemented some policies and procedures. We contract appraisers. We've compacted the appraisal program for BIA. We do a lot of that in-house, and then we have a review process with the Office of Appraisal Services. Through this program, on our own, we've purchased about 450 acres. In preparing for the land buyback program, we did have our leadership provide a lot of comments on all versions of the draft program. We were ranked 37 of 40 on the highly fractionated tribes, and we were allocated $17 million. $17 million doesn't go very far in our community due to our location and the high land values. So we're very fortunate to participate in the program. We were directed to apply for the pilot program for the land buyback program. We did submit 2 applications. We were not selected for the pilot program, but we did roll out with the program in January of 2015. So we've had 3 waves of the land buyback program in the community. Wave 1 went out at the first part of last year. We had 19 allotments, and we had over 1,200 landowners within these 19 parcels. We were able to purchased about 43% of the acreage for those offers. So we did have some success there. We did still have some funds left over, so we were able to roll out with Wave 2. With that wave, we purchased 7 allotments, and we started that process in June, and it actually went out in July and August is when we had those active offers going. Definitely less landowners. We had 30% acreage purchased through that. We did still have some funds left over, so we're actually in our 3rd wave right now, currently out. We have about a little over 30 landowners. So in this too, I mean, it's definitely looking at who's eligible to sell their interest. So there's more landowners, but just definitely who's eligible to sell their interest. So right now those offers are out, and that will come to an end in February, and hopefully we meet our mark on the 17 million. So overall, we've purchased about 157 acres to date. It solved a lot of problems within the community. We don't exactly have, a huge land base, but these allotments that we targeted were definitely approved by our tribal council. They solved a lot of problems as far as some BIA trespass, our wetland area. We had some trespass issues going on there. And then we also have a 40-year plus lease that's going to close out, and we were able to purchase some interest in that to help some of those landowners. And this program has also helped a lot of our right-of-way issues. And then we've purchased some acreage adjacent to community lands or for economic development. And one of the allotments that we had in this program, I know it's probably nothing compared to other tribes, but we had some highly fractionated land. I think we had a 10-acre parcel that had over 700 landowners, so we were able to get that down to low 600, which is success for us, but I'm sure compared nothing to other communities. Some of the lessons learned for this is we've definitely have council support now to kind of do some follow-up land purchases. We were able to get close to majority in some allotments and not in others, so we're definitely going to target land purchases after the program. And as well as, like I said, is the program only went out to eligible participants, so if there were any estates, probates active and stuff like that, that's something the community is going to pursue after the program. Definitely a learning experience in this process. We've definitely I think improved our approach and had a lot of lessons learned through this process, but very grateful for the opportunity to participate in the program. The other thing is we've also had a lot of help from PEMA agency, OST, and again, we can't give enough thanks to C. Henry and all of their efforts down there. So some of the next steps for SRPMIC post-land buyback program is through this program, we've had a lot of outreach with landowners, either just coming into the office and talking. It's really got some conversations sparked about potentially partitioning their interest from the tribe if they're not interested in selling, or again, those individuals who were not eligible to participate in the program wanting to sell their interest to the community at a later date. Right now we're working on finalizing our report for the land buyback program. And definitely, I think that this process and outreach, it's definitely brought up a lot of other questions from landowners. I'm sure which other tribes experience, like when we talk about gift deeding within the family, land exchange, stuff like that. It's really sparked interest among landowners. Also talking about home sites and stuff like that. So it's definitely been a great opportunity reaching out to the landowners and seeing where we can improve our realty program in the future, or where we can improve outreach opportunities. And we're very hopeful that if there's any funding for land buyback program, that maybe we get a little more money. We'd be happy to spend it in Salt River.
One of the things that we've wanted to talk with you a little bit about, and one of the things that Mary Gus, when she asked us to speak today, was to talk about some of our landowner comments that we've received during the program. And we've had a lot of outreach sessions, both individual family members coming to the office and speaking about their allotment, and we've had folks who come to larger outreach sessions and also wanted to speak about their allotments, whether they be the ones in the buyback program or the ones that are that are ones that are not in the program. Again, lots of robust conversations, and one of the things that we've been very clear as staff is we don't, if they want to sell, great. If they don't want to sell, great. Nothing's going to change. They still get to have the free meal that comes with it and whatever other goodies we have to give out at the meetings. So we were just, we had lots of good conversations, and I think people were really appreciative as far as feedback goes with, thank you for not pressuring us, that people were really worried they were going to get a high pressure sales. And when they came to the office and said, well, not interested in selling, we said, no problem. That's great. We're really happy you want to keep your land. What can we do to talk about that further? Do you want to do a will? Do you want to talk about home sites? Do you want to talk about future economic development? Do you want to talk about getting to know who your other landowners are? So again, like Christy said, it really sparked a lot of conversations. And then one of the other things we did here too, and especially in the allotments that are highly, highly fractionated, was that we heard, wow, nothing's been done on this property for such a long time because everybody has about the size of a Post-it note. And they couldn't figure out how to all gain consensus, or at least ILCA, to sign off on those allotments. So they were happy to sell, to say hopefully someday someone can do something with this. And that was the reason why they were selling, again, because they had such a small portion. So those were some of the feedback loops that we had from community members, whether it be on the phone, personal visits, or outreach sessions. And we had a lot of really great family discussions. And one of the things that we really encourage when we have landowner meetings is that if landowners come in and they come in with several family members, if they want to kick us out of the room, we're fine with that. We're happy to leave. And when they're ready, they can come find us, and we'll be happy to come back in the room. And we've been hosting lots of family discussion meetings and evening meetings and weekend meetings for families to get together and chat about what they want to do with their land. And we're so grateful that this program helped give us kind of a launch pad for folks to have those discussions and have those kind of tough family decisions that may need to be made, and have kind of a real frank conversation. So those are some of the small outcomes. You don't get to put those down on a report necessarily, and they're more anecdotal, and we just really want to share those with you all as our on the ground experience with Christy's team and our staff team, who are either notarizing things or sharing with families in individual meetings. And we're here to answer any questions you may have about our personal experience at Salt River, at the land buyback program, and anything we can do to answer any of those questions that you've been having in the back of your mind, saying, oh, I wish I could ask somebody about this. So that's what we're here for now, is to answer any questions.
Can you wait for the microphone? There you go. Thanks.
Who did your outreach materials?
We did our outreach materials. We took care of, for those of you who have been involved with the land buyback program, we did not take any administrative funds as part of this program. We just took the land buyback program funds for the actual purchases. We have staff internally that are already paid for by the tribe. We just took care of everything on our own. Same with the appraisals. We took care of the appraisals on our own and didn't do a mass appraisal process.
I have a small follow-up to that. Are those proprietary, or the design of the outreach in and of itself, and how you set it up about when you would do meetings, things like that? Is that something that can be shared?
We can share that at any time. Christy and I have our cards, and we'll be happy to share whatever information we can with you anytime.
Can you talk just a little about how that was designed, what your thinking was, and how you approach that intra-tribal consultation?
I think that we come at our land outreach a little bit differently. Because we have such individual relationships with our landowners and our families, we do small outreach sessions, and we try to keep them not large outreach sessions. We were able to work with the Office of Special Trustee and the PEMA agency, and we were able to do some outreach in Gila River. So we had some outreach sessions in Gila River. We set up those programs. We just sent out a real simple letter to folks and said, hey, you may be getting this in the mail, an offer letter from the Department of Interior. We'd like to have an outreach session for you to further discuss this. It's very, very simple. We'd be happy to share those with you anytime. We also had varying times of having meetings. So we had some morning meetings, we had some afternoon meetings, we had some evening meetings at various locations so that we could get folks at various times. If you were a senior, you may want to go to a morning meeting. If you're someone who has a job and you maybe not be available till the evening, you may want to go to an evening meeting. We tried to make those set up so it worked for individuals to drop by. And we also offered the opportunity to have family meetings if a family wanted to have a meeting in their home, or if they wanted to have a meeting somewhere in our offices, that we would set up a time for them to have an individual meeting. So we really tried to make it as customized as possible, again, because we have relationships with the families anyways for other leased property and other projects. And we use that. And then we have a couple events every year that we do know that we can speak to folks, and that's during our agricultural lease payout, which is either in January or February each year, and we had a little booth there. And we also have other events such as Earth Day, which people come out for, and we had a booth there also. So anytime we had an event that we knew a lot of folks would come out to, we made sure we had a booth. Christy, you want to add anything to the outreach?
As far as our outreach, we didn't do any extensive pamphlets or anything like that. We just basically used the land buyback program, what they sent to us, and it was a lot of one-on-one, face-to-face conversations with landowners. And we did provide some of our own mapping to landowners. Anytime someone came in with questions, we definitely gave them a more up-close aerial view of their allotment and answered any general questions that they had.
Great. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
So I have a question in regards to your appraisal. You said you compact with BIA, and then you also hired contractors for the appraisal. What was the difference?
We've compacted the appraisal program for many, many years in Salt River. So we have a group of contractors who are appraisers on contract. We put out those contracts to those, told them what allotments we wanted to have appraised. They put their appraisal back into the community, and then we process it through the Office of Appraisal Services. They do a final review. It takes about 30 days, and then they certify that appraisal works, and that's how we work that process. So again, it's based upon our compacting, and we do this regularly. We didn't do anything special for the land buyback program that we would have done for any other appraisal that we would have taken care of in our commercial corridor or for home sites or market studies.
Great.
I have a question. Okay, earlier when you began speaking, you said something about $19 million. Is that what you said? Do you get money from the government to help purchase these lands, or is that monies from the tribes?
Thank you for your question. The $17 million that we spoke about earlier was the money that was allocated during the original land buyback program presentations, and based upon where we were as a number of highly fractionated, highly allotted lands from the land buyback program. So it's the land buyback program funds from the Cobell settlement. So when we were speaking about that, that was the funds we got from the settlement. The tribal community does supplement our program after we utilize the federal funds first.
So is that amount only for your tribe, or does each tribe get the same amount?
Each tribe gets different amounts, and if you have a question about that, Santee Lewis is here, and I'm sure she could help you answer those questions. Salt River's amount was about $17 million. Other tribes get different amounts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think that 17 million is sufficient to accomplish? This is like a straight man question here.
I don't know if I can answer that question. $17 million helped. The land values in Salt River are very high, and I know that that's something that people are hesitant about when people look at our appraisals and they come back very high. Because, again, like I stated originally, Salt River is located bordering Scottsdale, Mesa, Tempe, Fountain Hills, and we're located right next to those cities. And so our appraisal values are based upon land values of those cities. So it's a little high. And I know that we probably caused some sticker shock to the land buyback program staff when we sent in the appraisals. So $17 million helped. It solved some long-standing problems. Christy had talked earlier about it solved a BIA trespass. We were just happy to have some of these projects that we have on our list as staff to fixed by another process, which was really great. We had an irrigation retention basin that was on a 10-acre parcel, and it had been there since the 50s, and those allotted landowners never got any money for that. So we're happy that they were able to get something because of this process. So that, again, solved some problems, and that was just one of about 10 problems that were solved. So again, we were grateful to get the list checked off of problems and making sure that those families were somewhat whole.
For my students in the audience today, I want you to note this answer as being one of the most political savvy and wonderful answers that you remark. Yes, sir.
Did you guys have a media plan, and what was it like?
I'd say we probably went very grassroots. We did not have, basically we had the announcement on the land buyback program page. We didn't have any kind of social media, just sent out the flyers. The land buyback sent out postcards and the offers and so forth, and then we followed up with some more personal and intimate letters to the landowners just to let them know about our outreach and who they can contact in the office. But ours was very, I'd say, the landowners it was more local. The landowners living in the community, as well as a majority of our landowners are also part of our sister tribe, Gila River, so we went down there as well and definitely worked with C. Henry and them down at Pima Agency to kind of do some outreach there, but it wasn't a broad land base we were trying to reach out to, so it was very small and intimate.
In Navajo, you have to hire a tanker plane and drop leaflets. I know.
I have a question on your geographical area that you're talking about. I know with Navajo we had a lot of allotment owners out there in the metro area. Did you go out to other metro cities and contact allotment owners?
We did targeted outreach based upon the landowners of the allotments that we knew that we were going to be targeting. We didn't really do any large outreach to other landowners or other landowners from other tribes. We just really focused on our few allotments that we were, as part of the program, and again, really focused on grassroots outreach to those specific families in those allotments.
We also had a lot of, like I said, we're kind of centrally located, so we just had a lot of foot traffic. It was, with our outreach events, I wouldn't say we had the greatest turnouts, but we definitely had people walking in the office every day. So it was a lot of one-on-one meetings with people. People sought us out.
Oftentimes, there's no mechanism for tribal citizens, tribal members to engage tribal programs or tribal council. So what was the mechanism of the intra-tribal council? What was the organic document that the council basically said, this is how you shall proceed? Was there a resolution passed? Was there a law passed?
That's a really great question. The council has been excited about this project, about implementing the land buyback program since the first documents came out from Department of Interior and how we would go forward on this. Our council likes to give feedback on how programs are implemented, and during that time, the council encouraged staff to come up with our top 30 allotments that we needed to look at that would either solve a problem, fix an issue, expand our education campus, our senior campus that we need to have. So we as staff took a priority list to council and some mapping structures to council and said, these are based upon a scoring criteria that we used and the land buyback programs criteria, intermingled both of those, and we said, council, this is what we're looking at the problems. We showed the maps, we went individual allotment by individual allotment, and the council prioritized those allotments from 1 to 30, and then that's how we kept responding back to the land buyback program as they said, which wave do you want to do this in? Which wave do you want to do this in? It was all based upon council's original priority list. And then to be a part of the land buyback program, the council had to pass a resolution that they were interested in being a part of this program so we could enter into a memorandum of understanding. And that's how we got involved. And Our council was anxious to be a part of it, was glad that some of the rules got changed in the middle of the process, especially the one rule about paying back or having a lien on the property that was originally produced in, I think, version 1 or 2 of the program guidelines. As soon as that went away, the council got even more excited about being a part of it. And as I stated earlier, this program and the implementation of it bridged 2 administrations, and both administrations were equally in support of it and equally forward-thinking on making sure that we as staff were dedicated to serving the families, however the families felt that they wanted to be given outreach to, or and not forcing this program down anybody's business. Just bringing the information forward, and if people wanted it, great. If they didn't want it, great. Either way, it was fine. So that's how we went about that.
Thank you. That's excellent. I'd like to hear from the folks from Dene as well on that question too. Let's take one more question for these fine folks from Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian community, and then we'll move on to our next set of panelists. Let me just see if there's somebody else has a chance here. Hang on. Yes, sir. Wearing that great University of Arizona hat.
Yes, I had a question concerning at these times when you went out and talked with the landowners. Did you mention the fact that the landowners would be giving up their water rights if they went through the buyback program? That their water rights, since it's their allottees' water rights, that it would be sold and given to the tribe?
Ooh, tough question.
Was that ever mentioned at these meetings that you talked with the landowners?
Frankly, that really wasn't a discussion point for any of our landowners. No one ever asked, and we didn't bring it up, and not for any reason. It just wasn't a point of discussion. But that's a really good point. That we can make sure that we include that as in our wave 3 of this discussion.
And was all your 17 million used up for this portion of the buyback?
For our wave 1 and wave 2, we used about $16 million, and this wave 3 is the last little bit of our funds, which is $1 million. And so that's where we are with wave 3.
And then finally, I just wanted to ask, was there any information given out to the allottees, or did the tribe have a specific area where those allotments were to be purchased that they felt that it was needed to be purchased for the tribe?
The council provided a list of top 30 allotments that were to be targeted as part of this program based upon situations, whether highly fractionated, past trespass, need for future services, right-of-way issues, and those type of things.
Okay. And finally, I just have one more. If any allottees were living on their allotment with their homes and everything, when you bought their property, did they have to give up their home and move somewhere else? Or did they actually still stay on their allotment, but as a tribal home site?
That's a really great question. None of the allotments that we worked on, the top 30 allotments that we presented to our council, had any residential on them. So there was no relocation, there was no tribal home sites, there was no issue. One of the things our council, and thank you for bringing that up, stated to us was, we don't want to relocate anybody, we don't want to take anybody out of their home. This is not about that. This is about other issues. So we really focused on areas of the community that didn't have home sites, that could have future tribal home sites in the future, but nothing that currently had home sites. Great question.
Thank you.
And obviously, depending upon the community, the society, the nature of home site or land site assignments is going to be dependent on each culture. But that's a great question. Because I can think of people getting together and trying to resolve those family issues as to who's going to have the future right to be there, even if it reverts to tribal trust land then. Yeah, thank you. So you said everything you'd like to say? All right, thank you very, very
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.